evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Raising Bulls, brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network, Golden Goal Press, and Roughneck Scarves. We are the only podcast dedicated to the New York Red Bulls 2 of USL. Tonight, we're recapping, I would say, a very big win over a tough side, Indy 11. Red Bulls 2 won that match 2-1. We will get into that, and we'll talk a little bit about what the standings look like now. A sighting of a player we haven't heard from in quite a while. We're going to talk to János Loebe, who got his first minutes 2 weeks ago against Loudoun United. His first start. He got an assist in that match. And we're going to preview the match tomorrow night or tonight, depending on when you're listening to this, against Birmingham Legion FC, the rematch of the match that wasn't. We can see if Tom Barlow's going to get a goal in this one. Joining me tonight, I've got two hosts with me. This is so unusual this season. I'm going to start with Bill Toomey, Bill TNJ. How are you, Bill?
Hey, I'm doing good. It was nice to see a nice little comeback there in Red Bulls 2 over the weekend and get a win.
Yeah, they are very much in the habit of winning these matches this season, even when they're giving up goals. It's nice to see. And joining me for the second week in a row, it's Joe Steen. Hello, Joe.
Hey, good to be back on the show for a second week in a row. It's kind of uncommon this year, but good win on Sunday, and they're now sitting in second place.
That's right. They are in second place, only behind St. Louis FC, who has Red Bulls have a game in hand on them. So some really, really good stuff. Right now, though, they're tied with Tampa Bay Rowdies in the standings at second place. But again, Red Bulls have a game in hand there, so sitting in a really nice position. Let's turn our attention to this match against Indy 11. They go down early, a goal comes against the run of play, and I think they struggle for the most part throughout that first half, and even a little bit into the second half of finding ways to break down Indy, who did a great job of keeping numbers behind the ball and keeping things essentially around the perimeter. Most of the shots the Red Bulls took in the first half came from outside of the box. But they persisted. Vincent Bezecourt, who did not have the best game, manages to draw a foul for a PK and get the assist on the game-winning goal. Tom Barlow gets another goal for this team, and they are rocking and rolling. Joe, watching this match, I want to get some of your impressions, especially given how they played against Loudoun the week before.
My impressions are, Coach Wozniak touched on after the game, they really, early on the season, have been a second-half team. It seems like they've gone into halftime, they've known what adjustments they've had to make, or they've really gotten a good team talk from him at halftime. They've responded very well, and they've just done a really good job in the second half. I mean, I thought, like you said, they didn't really create a lot in the first half. Indy did a really good job preventing whatever they tried to do. They packed a lot of bodies in the box. And then the second half, the game seemed to really open up after Jared Stroud's goal. They the ball over the top, which was flicked on by Bezecourt to find Barlow, and this time against Loudoun, and he also touched on this after the game. The game against Loudoun, he missed a one-on-one opportunity, which we all expected him to score, and then this time he puts it away, and then he really, I think, should have had another, but it was called offside, but it was a pretty close call. So I really thought their response in the second half was really big.
Yeah, and I was the one who asked him about that opportunity, and what he had said to me was he wasn't as wide open as he was against Loudoun, so he didn't, I guess, think himself out of a better choice. He just made his decision very quickly. Tom Barlow, 7 goals on the year now. He is tied at the top of the Golden Boot leaders, and there are no signs of him slowing down. 7 matches, 7 goals. Wow, what a season so far from Tommy B. Bill, one of the things I noticed in this match was Kofi probably had his best match as a member of the New York Red Bulls 2 all day long. I thought he was smart defensively. He did a good job of tracking back and keeping Indy from really, making too much headway into their own half. Of course, Indy did play a lot of long balls, but I thought Kofi did a good job of kind of keeping them away from the center. And passing, he really did a great job of taking care of the ball and ushering it around the field. And I think part of why this team didn't get stifled by the bunker, or hasn't gotten stifled by the bunker the way that the first team has, is because of that patience when passing the ball and movement around the box. But I just want to get your impressions of the midfield in this match, Bill.
Yeah, I thought they did pretty well, and it's a good point too, comparing it to the first team, because it seems like, even like we saw this past week at Red Bull Arena, passing the ball sometimes is a bit difficult for them. But Red Bulls too, they've seemed to be pretty good in the midfield, which is awesome so far this season.
One thing that I think is worth watching, if you're going to watch why the Red Bulls in MLS have not been successful versus why the Red Bulls in USL have, beyond just the talent, factor for the opposing teams that they're coming up against, when Red Bulls 2 decide to play the ball long, they look to knock it back to a level back, so usually whoever's playing attacking midfielder, and then multiple guys head forward on that run, and there's more options for the team to play around with. So often when you watch the first team and they play that long ball, they knock it down, and it's mostly just Bradley up there trying to figure out how he can maintain possession and draw some other folks into the attack. And that's where they really struggled. So it's good to see at this level that they're getting that done. I wish we would see it in MLS. The other things to talk about, Nealis and Scarlett against a very talented attack. Yes, they did give up one goal to Dane Kelly, but other than that, they really faced very little danger on their own goal. Evan Loro didn't really have to do much. And, I got to say that I know that they haven't really kept any clean sheets, and I've championed this a lot, but the turnaround defensively from last year to this year is remarkable. Joe, is this going to be a pair that maybe has MLS potential ahead?
It's interesting because I don't think we would have expected this coming into the season, because we knew Sean Nealis was a talented player. We saw it a little bit. We saw what he's capable of in preseason, but I thought this game was one of his better games this season, because, like you said, they go up against two incredibly dangerous players in Voltson and Dane Kelly. And Kelly got the better of Scarlett early on, which I thought Scarlett was a little unlucky to give up that goal. But I think they've done a terrific job to start the year. I think a lot of credit has to go to the communication between the two of them, because they're two players that really hadn't played with each other a lot. And then going forward in the season, I think I'm going to say Nealis is. I don't know about Scarlett yet. I think Scarlett needs to prove a little bit more. I think he's still a little error prone at times. But I think Nealis will continue to grow into the position, and I think we could possibly see him in MLS sometime. Not this year, but possibly next year.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he's done really well, and at the very least, he deserves some rotation minutes with the first team. Who else on this team right now do you think is earning a look with the first team? Obviously, Tom Barlow. We just talked about those defenders in the back, but who else do you think should get that call up, Bill?
I think Stroud should get the call up. What he does is he takes a lot of shots, even from the top of the box or even outside the box, and it almost seems like we need more people like that on the first team, because every goal that the first team seems to get is always on a cross into the middle, and they could really use a player like Jared Stroud to take shots from outside the box or even inside the box. And he's been pretty good this season.
Okay, Joe?
I'm going to say Stroud, but I think I think he's starting to grow into that 10 role, and I think I like the fact that he looks to pick the pass right away. I think the first team is lacking creativity in the final third, and I think he's definitely someone that can offer that.
And yeah, I have to agree. I think Jared's done a really nice job. There's a couple of moments where you still see that he's got a little bit of growing to do. He missed a rebound sitter in the box this week. He did the same thing against Loudon. He absolutely makes up for it with a great pass to Vincent Bezecourt, which leads to the foul and the PK, and of course finishing the penalty kick with gusto. Okay, let's get man of the match. First, I'll start with you, Mr. Steen.
You touched on this. I'm going to say John Christoph Kofi. I thought it was his best match so far for Red Bull 2. I thought he did a great job in the midfield along with Chris Lima, and I thought it was probably the best game those two have had. You mentioned it. He spread the ball around very well, and I thought he marshaled the midfield very well in this game, so I'm going to say him.
Bill?
I'm going to go with Tom Barlow. I really like what I've seen from Tom Barlow so far this season, and the way he scored in this past game where he got a crazy amount of speed and just blazed past everybody else to score that goal was pretty slick. So I'm going to give it to Tom Barlow.
Yeah, I think a lot of times defenders underestimate his acceleration because they know that he has speed, but they play him very tight, and that allows him to get out. I like that you went with another pick. I thought we were all going to go Kofi. I'm giving mine to Kofi. I think, like I said, just in terms of the way that he took care of the ball in the night, was fantastic. I think his passing was something like 89% in the match. Just beautiful. Great job. News alert. We have a Hassan Ndam sighting. He was taken in the expansion draft by FC Cincinnati in the offseason. And since then, it has been crickets. We heard nothing about him. A little bit in preseason. I believe he even scored a goal, maybe had an assist in preseason. But it has been completely radio silence. No one knew where he was or what he was up to. Today, Charlotte Independence put out a picture of the team, sitting around warming up. And in the background, I believe this was on Twitter or maybe Instagram. In the background, underneath the Independence logo, Hassan Ndam looks to be warming up with the team. So it looks like he might be going on loan with Charlotte Independence. I'll have to give a shout out to Goose, who we had on the show a couple of weeks ago, for slipping us this info. But I think it's fantastic that it looks like Big Haas finally has an opportunity to get some game minutes, because it's a travesty that he hasn't been able to get in the lineup for FC Cincinnati.
Especially because they took him in the expensive draft.
Yeah.
Right. And I also like to give a shout out to Goose, too, because he sent me an awesome sticker from their podcast. So we sent him some stickers. He sent me a sticker. It's pretty cool to swap stickers.
It's the RBNN Raising Bull sticker exchange. Sticker.
Right.
Yes. I can speak English sometimes. Okay, we're going to take a little break. When we come back, you're going to get to listen to our interview with János Loebe. So stick around. And we're back. We're joined now by first-year New York Red Bull 2 player and draft pick in the most recent 2019 MLS Cup or MLS draft. It's János Loebe. János, thank you so much for joining me.
No problem. Any day.
So you got your first minutes over the last couple of matches. You got your first assist and your first start. Just tell me a little bit of what that experience was like.
It was definitely great to help the team, assist and to start. But unfortunately, that was also our first loss of the season. So I wish my debut was a little bit better. But you can't win every single game. But now we have to keep going. And fortunately, we won the next one. So I also got some minutes. But I'm happy with that.
And you're playing kind of a new position for you, right? Previously, you were further up the field as a midfielder, almost a forward.
Yeah, exactly. They told me in the beginning when they drafted me that they see me more as a left back, left wing back. which I don't mind at all. I think that's like a good position for me, and I can put all the strength that I have, like with the pace, with like the ability to run and everything, that I can put that in there. But like you said, it's a new position, then it's also like a new system like that I play in with the Red Bull system. They have their very own way or their very own style of play, and then also like when you come in and practice with the first team. And even with the second team, it's like a different level. It's like different than college, obviously. But all it comes together, it's like a lot. It's like a big change. But I'm up for the challenge, and I enjoy it so far. And I think I'm making positive progress. So I'm doing good.
What do you think's been the most difficult part of making that transition? Is it just kind of getting more into that defensive mindset? Because going forward, obviously, you must be comfortable.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, being an attacker my entire life, that's the biggest difference, I would say, to get like the defensive habits. But, every session, every week and every month of playing that position, I feel more comfortable. And I think also like the coaches, they see that there is like a progress and a positive one, and like I said, it's like most of the time it's like the defensive part, but like I'm working on it and I feel more comfortable day in, day out, and so that's good, I think.
Let's rewind the clock a little bit. Talk to me about when you first started out playing. How old were you, and where were you playing?
Oh, when I first started, I started like the age of 6 or so, and I was playing in the local club, just getting used to it, and obviously, I'm from a soccer family, and my father was a professional soccer player, and my brother played, and so it was easy to fall in love with the game. But I started over there, and then throughout the years, I developed. I was always an attacking oriented player, but played multiple positions. It doesn't matter. Like sometimes I played. Offensive midfielder, sometimes left mid, right mid, or even like forward. The last 4 years at Fordham, but always an attacking player. But that was like kind of my path from being a little guy, and now up here.
Well, at what point did you realize that this was something that you're going to try to make a career out of?
4 years ago, when I decided to go to America to play college soccer with like the scholarship and everything, I realized, like in Germany, it was like hard, and then I wanted to give it a shot in America, with the college system, which sounded very appealing to me. And then being here, and I think throughout the last 4 years or last 4 seasons in college, I had like a good college career, and I had lots of fun. I met a lot of good people who helped me develop as a player and as a person. And then once you hear your name, or once they called your name for that you're in the combine and also in the draft, and once your name is called in the draft, then hey, listen, that's great, and that's what I want to do. And so. Basically, obviously, like before the combine, the draft happens, you kind of want to go that path. But like once you hear your name called, this is what I'm going to do for the next, for the living for the next years.
Yeah.
And now it's just like keep working hard. Keep showing the guys in the club, the coaching staffs from like first team and second team, that they can count on you. And then who knows what the future will bring for you. But I think, if you put the work in, then it can only be something positive.
I talked to Reese about this last week, that whole process of sitting, waiting for your name to be called. Did you have expectations of where that might happen, or was there any fear that maybe you might go undrafted?
I mean, going into the combine and then talking to teams, and it's like always like very tricky, to be honest, I like the best talks with Red Bulls, and they said they liked me, but like I said, in the combine, a lot of people talk to the players, and you never know like how they actually think about you, and like who's available and all these kind of things. But but once let's say I didn't know that, or I didn't expect maybe to get drafted, like, because in the beginning they only had one pick in the first round, and I didn't like, maybe I don't know if that's me or not. But then they traded, and I think like when they had the 16th pick, they traded some picks, and then I was pretty confident that they would pick me. Just didn't know if it's like the first round, getting a second round, but I'm super glad that it happened that way, and yeah, it was a great experience.
And you had some experience with Red Bull at the U23 level. Is that the main factor of Red Bull selecting you?
I played for them last summer in the PDL season, which was, it was good to get used to their system and everything. But I think, since they're New York based, my college was New York based, and so there is like this kind of like closeness that they will more likely watch our games and know me than maybe other players. And then they had like an individual combine where I attended, and I think I showed pretty well in that combine too. And I think that especially that combine helped me really to get on their radar again, maybe. And at the end it was, like I said, we had good talks at the combine, at the MLS combine, and I think I also did a solid job over there in Orlando. And at the end, honestly, it had to be them. Like.
I fully understand that. We've talked to a couple of guys about those local combines before, but I've never really delved into that. What is that process like when you're just going for a specific team, and is it sort of difficult to kind of gauge what you should be doing on the day, or is it very clear what they're looking for from you?
I think I only attended Red Bull's individual combine, and to be honest, I thought at least they did a really good job and making the practice the way they practice with the first team and the second team, so very intense. Is like maybe sometimes it's a little shorter than other practices, but it's very intense and a lot of running and everything, and it's not for everyone. Not every player who attended there thought it was easy. I didn't think it was easy, but it was very demanding, and which I liked. And but yeah, you could see they do a lot of counter press and a lot of just what their philosophy is, and they do that in practice too. And I really liked it because it's like a specific, like they train specifically the way they also want to play, and that was very appealing to me. I think I did pretty well there, and I think like overall that's something that that I can do well. I think that's also like a part why they drafted me at the end and all the other guys, because they showed well those attributes, like the quick like counter press and tight space and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, it's I personally didn't prepare like superly. I didn't want to stress out, so I just like tried to be myself, try to be fit. And if you're fit, like and if you're confident, then it all will go your way. Or most of the time it will, but so at the end, I didn't like really stress out about it. I just tried to do my thing, and fortunately it worked out for me.
That's excellent. This coming week, well, tomorrow, you guys have another match. It's against Birmingham Legion. It's short rest. What's the discussion been about that match specifically? Because Birmingham's coming off of a really good stretch. They're unbeaten in 4. They've beaten some pretty good teams with Louisville and St. Louis. So what's the talk around that?
It's definitely a pretty good team, but I think we are having a really good season so far as well, and but we are not underestimating them for sure. We already played them for like 15 or 20 minutes, but then there was like, because of the weather conditions, they canceled the game. But we want to be us. We want to show that what we basically showed every game, the Red Bulls, how we play at Red Bulls, and. I think if we play like us, I think it's very hard to beat us, so we focus more on us than on the opponent. And of course, there are like certain things where that you have to keep in mind and that you have to be aware of. But overall, we feel good about it. We do good. The coaches always do a great job with like the scouting the other team, and we're confident. We also coming from a good run. Like we lost one game so far, and yeah, it's going to be a good game for sure.
Well, I'm very excited to watch that. Before we let you go, are you ready for the lightning round?
For the what?
For the lightning round. I'm going to ask you a bunch of very quick yes or no.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what it was. Yeah,
No problem.
I'm ready. Sorry.
Okay. Popcorn, yes or no?
Yes.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh, neither.
Marvel or DC?
The first one. What was it? Fireball?
Marvel or DC?
Oh, Marvel. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Super Mario or Sonic the Hedgehog?
Super Mario.
Who is your favorite team to play as in FIFA?
Dortmund. Borussia Dortmund.
And this one is new for this year. I'm calling it the Derek Etienne Award. Who is the worst dancer on the Red Bulls 2 team?
Red Bulls 2 team. Oh, who's that? Reese Bartmaster.
I think he... Yeah, all right. I like it. I think he's the first person to get more than one vote. That's perfect. János, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. We wish you nothing but the best of luck this weekend.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And when we come back, we're going to be previewing that match, or I said the weekend, but it's during the week, against Birmingham Legion. So stick around. And we're back with our final segment. We're going to be previewing the match against Birmingham Legion FC. The Red Bulls 2 should have already played a match against Birmingham. We should have a baseline of what to expect. However, that match was canceled due to inclement weather, and Tom Barlow's should-be 8th goal of the season was erased from existence. It was almost like Thanos snapped them away. Anyway... Birmingham is now 3-2-1, improved record since last time we talked about them. They have a 0 goal differential. In the last 5 matches, they are 3-1-1 with wins over, and get this, St. Louis, Louisville, and Loudoun. Loudoun is not a particularly strong team, despite the fact that they got a great result against the Red Bulls. But beating St. Louis and Louisville City, that definitely should raise some eyebrows. Both of those matches were tightly contested. I think they both ended 3-2, but impressive to see. Their lone loss in that 5-match run was against Ottawa. It was the second match of the season. They have not lost in their last 4 matches, and they drew 0-0 with Swope Park Rangers. Their goal leaders are J.J. Williams and Prosper Kasim. They each have 2. Brian White, Mateo Laurent, and Chandler Hoffman all have 1. Assists from Eric Avila, Kyle Culbertson. They both have 2. Brian Wright and Daigo Kobayashi have 1. Daigo Kobayashi was with New England Revolution a couple of years ago. In case you don't remember, I'm here to help. We know what we saw with them. They're a little bit sloppy on crosses and set pieces, but their attack is very much improved since we last talked, and it seems to be clicking. They have talented players. Their lineup, I'm assuming, is going to be Matt Van Okel in goal, Eric Avila, Kyle Fisher, Mateo Laurent, and Kyle Culbertson on the back line, Zach Harivo, Mikey Lopez, Daigo Kobayashi, Daniel Johnson in the midfield, and Prosper Kasim and Chandler Hoffman up top. Mikey Lopez was NYCFC, right? Am I correct there?
I believe so.
All right, I'm going to check it out while I talk about this. This is not a bad team. I think they're surprising people with the way that they played. And Red Bull 2 probably, I think, going into the match in Birmingham, we were bullish on them, no pun intended. A match at home against this side might be a little bit more difficult. In my very scientific stats rundown, defense and attack are heavily leaning towards the Red Bulls, distribution towards Birmingham. Just the shot disparity with these two teams, 100 shots so far for New York Red Bulls 2, 56 for Birmingham. They have a conversion rate of 12.5%. All of their goals have come from inside the box, be it crosses or picking up rebounds. Get some impressions here. What are you expecting in this match, Justine?
It's kind of like the Loud match. When I watched this team I watched a little bit of their games against St. Louis and Louisville. They're dangerous on set pieces, which we have seen Red Bulls 2 struggle with this year. I believe at least three or four of their goals against those teams came on set pieces. They do a good job of getting good crosses into the box, and they're going to have to be on their toes to Red Bulls 2's defense is going to have to be on their toes to watch out for that type of stuff, because we've seen this year it's troubled them. The Loudon game, a couple of crosses in the box gave them trouble. Their second goal in particular, and it seems like they have a good amount of speed going forward, and they're pretty dangerous on the counterattack. So that's something that I would look to keep an eye on, especially with I would say most likely a rotated squad tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm assuming we're going to see a similar type of rotation to what we saw at Loudon, although it gets very interesting up top because Tom Barlow, I think, is the only one who is readily available. We know that Bradley Wright Phillips was injured over the weekend and could not play in that match. Both Brian White and Matthias Jorgensen were with the first team, so that leaves Red Bulls 2. I said with only Tom Barlow, but they also have Amarildo and Sebastian Elney. Sebastian Elney? Is that right? Did I just make up his first name?
No, you're right. You're
okay,
right.
Good.
You're right.
Oh, there's too much soccer to follow. And then on the back line, there's a sort of mixture that we could get. Preston Kilween showed well against Hartford. This is obviously a more difficult test. Hartford still has not won a game. We haven't seen Alan Giannis in a little bit. Ben Mines is healthy and around, but just has not been selected. So there's definitely some interesting things to look at here. Bill, if there is one person that you absolutely want to see in the lineup against Birmingham, who is it?
Of course, I'm going to say Tom Barlow, but I'm almost thinking, what do you think if they played Epps up a little bit further?
You think as like a striker?
Yeah,
that could
they
be
moved him up as a striker.
That could be an interesting proposition. I would like that a lot more if it was Barlow and Epps up top playing that two-man front line.
Yeah, that would be great.
Other things to talk about in this match. Tom Barlow, I touched on it before. He had a goal against them. It was erased. I was joking with him about looking for revenge, but certainly he's going to want to be getting in there and causing some trouble. When we've looked at this team before, one of the things that I identified as a weakness was their ability to defend against crosses that are on the ground, low crosses, a Red Bull specialty. And I can't see any reason why they wouldn't be able to capitalize in similar ways. But having sort of to balance the matches this week and knowing how difficult it was for the midfield to gain control in the Loudon match. Justine, are you a little bit worried about how they're going to approach this and what the personnel is going to be like?
I am, because it's another short week. I don't think they play until next Wednesday, though. So I could see maybe John Molniak, if he doesn't feel the game's going the right way, he could potentially switch things up at halftime or early in the second half because they have such a decent amount of time off. They don't have to play Saturday or Sunday again. But I am a little concerned because the last time they did a good job rotating against Hartford, but it took them a little while, and they finally got going in the second half. But then they came home against Loudon in the game we were almost sure they were going to win, and then they completely collapsed in that game. So I'm a little nervous about what the personnel is going to look like. If it's going to be, a mixture of academy guys and Red Bull 2 guys and then first team guys, because, as we've seen, the chemistry is not there because they don't know their tendencies, and, that type of stuff happens, of course.
Yeah, that's very fair. If you're looking at the depth chart of this team right now, and specifically on the back line, they really only have 3 center backs. Who are the 2 that you would go with in this match? Is it Scarlett and Kilween? Is it Nealis and Kilween? And then on the outside, do you think they're going to start Rito and Giannis?
I would probably go with Rito and Giannis on the outside, and then I would go with Kilween and Nealis in the middle.
Okay, interesting. Our guest tonight, János Loebe, is also a person to consider for the left back spot. I didn't mean to leave him out. János, I hope you take no offense.
I actually forgot about János, who actually did him. He actually was one of the more impressive players in the Loudoun game. He assisted on the first goal. He got down the left-hand side pretty well. I mean, he got targeted a lot in that game, but he offers a lot going forward, which I think they could also use him to exploit Birmingham in this game because, again, like you said, they're not good at defending the low crosses.
Yeah, agree. So let's get a prediction. I'll start with you, Bill. Give me a prediction for this match.
My prediction is going to be nothing too crazy, but 2-1 win for New York Red Bulls 2.
Okay. Joe?
I'm going to go 2-1 Red Bulls 2 as well.
Now I can't possibly. That was going to be my score line. I'm going to say this is a 3-2 win for Red Bulls 2, just to one-up you guys. It's still a one-goal win, but
you got to be different.
Yeah, exactly. Got to be different. All right, let's take a look at the standings right now. In USL, from top to bottom, in the East, number 1, St. Louis FC. We mentioned them before, 17 points. At 2, New York Red Bulls 2, 16. Tampa Bay, sort of tied with 2, also 16. North Carolina FC, 14 points. Charleston, 14 points. Louisville, 13 points. Indy 11, 12. Nashville, 11. So, just very quickly, coming into the season, those are the 2 teams I identified as teams that were really going to dominate this year. And so far, they're not quite doing it. Indy 11's probably a little bit further along than Nashville, but we'll have to see how that goes. 9th, Ottawa Fury. It's nice to see them above the playoff line. And 10th, Birmingham Legion, the opponent this week. Underneath them, Bethlehem Steel, Atlanta United, Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Loudoun United, Memphis, Charlotte, Swope Park, and Hartford. Hartford really should change from the Hartford Athletic to the Hartford Goose Egg. They are 0-8-0 with a negative 18 goal differential. That is a very rough way to start a season.
Ouch.
To be fair, in their defense, they have yet to play a home game.
That's true. So. Still, that is, I mean, not even getting a draw in any of these is kind of rough. And they have, I think, the ability to get a result if the games were shorter, but they tend to fade towards the end of matches. Anything surprising you there? Anything that you think is worth discussing?
Nashville struggling, I think, is worth discussing because I definitely thought they were going to be one of the best teams in all of USL this year, and they really haven't gotten off to a good start. They've struggled, and I thought getting Lancaster and Rios and Belmar was going to help them with their offense, but it doesn't seem like it has.
Well, yeah, that's one of those things is they have to figure out how to balance their lineup, and I think what's been difficult for them is figuring out how to play Daniel Rios and Cameron Lancaster at the same time, because they haven't really altered the way that they're playing. They still try to stay compact and just kind of look for chances on the counter, and I don't think that necessarily suits all 3 of those guys, so that's really interesting. And Indy 11, I'm not trying to say that they're not doing well. They have only lost 2 matches, but I think, again, when you look at a team that goes out and gets Thomas Voltson and Dane Kelly to lead the attack, you think that they should be a little bit higher up in the standings. The only 2 places they've stumbled, mind you, are against the top 2 teams in the league, or in the East, so maybe just a grain of salt then there. I should actually say the top 2 teams in the league.
Park Rangers, right?
Yeah. Swope Park Rangers coming from the West.
All the way down at the bottom, too.
They are also winless, and they are having a really tough time adjusting to being in the East.
I would also Louisville City kind of struggling early on, but I'm not too worried because they kind of didn't come out of the gates quick last year, and then they really started to shine towards the end of the year.
Yep, and they got a draw against Tampa Bay, which I thought was good, and 2 sort of clinical wins against Ottawa and Memphis. So they're still in a good spot. In the West, Portland Timbers 2 leading the pack with 15 points. Then Tulsa Roughnecks 14. New Mexico United, 14. Reno, 1868, 12. Sac Republic, 11. Real Monarchs, 11. Austin Bold, 11. OKC, 11. LA Galaxy, 11. And Phoenix Rising, 11. It is a very, very tight field from first place to 12th place. They're separated by 5 points. That's pretty nuts. Down below the line, San Antonio FC, the only other undefeated team in USL, Fresno FC, is sitting in 12th place. Okay, sure. Orange County,
special. Just
right? Orange County SC in 13th, Rio Grande Valley 14, El Paso Locomotive 15, Las Vegas Lights 16, Colorado Springs Switchbacks 17, and Tacoma Defiance 18. That was Seattle Sounders last season. They have now rebranded to Tacoma Defiance. Biggest surprise in the West?
how fun New Mexico is to watch. New Mexico United is to watch.
They've got some good players, including a former rival player, Santi Moar, who is doing very well out west.
They are very exciting. All their games are just high scoring affairs. There's no in between with that team.
Yeah, and OKC Energy and Tulsa both above the playoff line. That is good to see. The sad thing to see of those two teams this past weekend, OKC and Tulsa met up. Atiba Harris tweets after the match he was racially abused by a player on OKC. And wait, do I have that backwards? Is he on OKC? He's on OKC, sorry. He was racially abused by a player on Tulsa Roughnecks. That player, let's see, do I have his name somewhere here? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Yes. That player was Fabian Bastidas. He posted on Instagram, this was his response for using the N-word as a racial slur towards Atiba Harris during that match. For those of you who may not have read a statement released by the USL and Roughnecks today regarding my termination, so I guess I should have led with this. Tulsa immediately terminated his contract. So honestly, big round of applause to Tulsa because so many times we've seen
right thing to do.
We've seen teams protect players in these sort of situations before. So good on you, Tulsa. I figured I owed it to myself and the ones I care about to explain why. Last night, we played a game against our rival team, Oklahoma City Energy. I used terminology that I've used my entire life growing up in Brooklyn, a pronoun that I say to my friends, teammates, and the people I care about. Ma N-word. And again, I'm not going to say that. In South America, New York, Portugal, and everywhere else I've lived, we say it with love. Nothing malicious or racist was or will ever be intended by it. Let me get your reactions first to that. So he says, yes, I used the word, but I didn't mean it in a derogatory way. What are your thoughts?
I think they did the right decision terminating him. I mean, even if you don't use it that way, it's still not appropriate at all, ever. I mean, you're not hanging out with your friends. You're playing a rival team. And
exactly.
That's just not called for. It's not called for ever in the game. So no matter what the tone is, it's just not called for. It's ridiculous.
Well, and not for nothing. I look at that explanation as almost like, well, I have, and then fill in the blank of the minority that you are abusing in some way. I have friends that are that, and then it's okay with us. So I thought there's no way that you really think that is a good explanation. I think now is the time for self-reflection and not excuses. And not for nothing, Atiba Harris doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would accuse a player of using terminology that wasn't being directed at him as a weapon. He weaponized a racial slur, and he's paying the price for I applaud Tulsa for doing what they did, which was terminating his contract. And we'll move on from that. Bad times and good times, all within the field of soccer. That brings us to the end of another episode of Raising Bulls. If you want to follow us on Twitter, I am at _Joe Goldstein.
I'm at Bill TNJ.
I am at JSteen15.
And if you'd like to follow the show, and we hope you do, we are at Raising Bull. That's one Bull Cast. Raising Bullcast, and that's all on Twitter. If you'd like to follow us at Red Bull News Network, all of us contribute work there, including Bill and his amazing photography. It is rbnn.us or RB News Network on Twitter. You can find our show on facebook.com/raisingbulls. You can go to raisingbulls.com. You can even send us questions to that domain. Questions@raisingbulls.com. That's questions@raisingbulls.com. Our show's on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. Find us, rate us, review us. It does help. And of course, I say this every week, if we are not on your podcast, what's the word I'm looking for? Podcast aggregator of your choice, let us know, and we'll figure out a way to get up there. We're brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network at bgn.fm. They cover MLS, USL, Premier League, and NWSL. They've got a host of great shows like the Other Football Podcast, 901 Soccer Pod, Speedway Soccer, The Curse Cast, 6 Point Weekend, Off Pitch Podcast, Orange and Black Soccer Cast, Rising as One, Mongols, Play the Kids, 1868 Weekly, Down in the Valley, and so much more. Ton of great podcasts for all of the leagues I mentioned above, and written work. They've got a lot of great written work that you should definitely check out if you get the time. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Golden Goal Press, the best choice for you to get custom shirts, hats, mugs, and other items for just yourself or your organization. Check out their amazing products at a fraction of the price of other places at goldengoalpress.com. Last but not least, thanks to our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, the official scarf supplier of MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. For myself, Bill Toomey, Joe Steen, and János Loebe, thank you and have a great night.